Good morning and welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. It's match day, it's Derby day. I'm Chris McElwain and I'm joined by Kevin McCluskey. It is Rangers versus Celtic. I say that only because we're playing at Ibrox today. But it's the first one of the season, Kev, and it's been a bit of a surreal build-up to this one. And neither team in particularly good form, certainly as far as European travails are concerned. Frustration on both sets of supporters. Quite a lot of apathy coming into this game, which is unusual for the derby. Now, I don't know about you, nerves are building up for me. I see a few people in the chat saying the same thing. How are you feeling coming into this one? It's been a strange old lead up to it, hasn't it?
It has been, aye. So first of all, good afternoon from where I am in the world.
Of course.
But good afternoon, yes. But aye, just for the word that you used there was one I was going to use myself, but you've got in before me. It's apathy for this game. It's really, really weird. Because you shouldn't feel like this going into our Glasgow derby. This is the game that you should be really hyped and pumped up for and looking forward to, going there, getting 3 points at Ibrox, going 9 points ahead before the end of August, and there should be so many things to be looking forward to about this game. But you could almost see it far enough, and not because I've got any dread about losing it, although we easily could. I don't fear that. I'm not looking forward to the game. I'm not going to say I've got no interest in it. That's obviously not true. But there is a bit of a apathy towards it, and just be like, let's just get it over and done with. Then get tomorrow done with, get the transfer window done with, and move on with the rest of the season, knowing with what we've got to play with, and be as angry or as content with that as we need to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think it's just that there's so many things that are going on in the background that it's hard to put all your focus on this game. That will likely change once the game kicks off. I think we'll really start to get right into it. I think these games are incredibly difficult to predict. You know, if you were looking at the domestic form, we're head and shoulders above Rangers today. I think most Rangers fans would probably agree with that. Really not happy with how their club's moving at the moment. If we leave the background stuff to one side for the moment, Kev, I really do want to focus on the game today. I know a few people have asked for that as well. We don't focus too much on the transfers, and we'll have plenty of bulletins to do that over the next 24, 48 hours. But let's take a look at the lineup, because there's a few talking points on there. So I'll start with our lineup, if you'll bear with me. So there is our lineup for today. So we start with a relatively familiar back five even. We've got Kasper Schmeichel in goal. Tony Ralston continues to deputise for the injured Alistair Johnson. We've got Carter Vickers and Scales, who seem to be the preferred centre-back partnership at the moment, and Kieran Tierney and at left-back. And in midfield, we've got Callum McGregor as the captain, as always. We have Hatate, and interestingly enough, we have Engels coming into central midfield, looking more like the midfield three from last season. That means that Benji Nygren has moved out wide, and we also have a place for our new signing, Balagwisha, who comes in. I think he'll be playing on the left, and looking at that, you would expect then Dyson Maeda to make up the striker position there. On the bench, we have Sinisalo, Yang, McCowan, Shin, Bernardo, Sarachi, our new signing, our new wing-back signing, Dane Murray, James Forrest, and Ross Doohan. So, Kev, I'll get your thoughts first of all on the start lineup, but particularly that midfield spot where we have Engels coming in place of Nygren, who's been pushed out wide.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting change. Probably one that was likely to happen, because I think after signing Balagwisha, Rodgers has got to start him. Apparently, he's been the first choice winger that we've been chasing since last January, and it's taken us 9 months to get him in the door. Yeah. So it's taken us about 9 months to get him in the door. But once we've got him in, I think we have to play him. He's got a full pre-season behind him at Antwerp, and I think he played their first 3 games of the season. So he doesn't come in rusty. He's rusty to the players, but he's match fit and he's ready to go. So I think it's natural that he would come in. And then, bringing Engels back in, I kind of like it. And I think you've been one of the folks that's been calling for Nygren to play wide right and see what he can do. And he's fairly effective there. I do believe he's more effective as a central midfielder and making those late runs into the box. But Engels coming back in for this game, I think, gives us a wee bit more athleticism in the midfield. I think he's got a bit more physicality maybe about him. The Negrin's in there. I think he'll put himself into challenges a bit. And I was fairly impressed with him, although we didn't really touch on him much. I was fairly impressed with him in midweek when he came on, because I felt he was at least trying to drive us forward every time he got the ball. So it's a big game for him. We'll see what he does. And he's cost us £11 million. He's got to come in and take that burden still. And these are the big games. So he's got to come in and show up for it. And I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll be a good addition to that midfield. He gives his legs alongside a hopefully steady Callum McGregor and an inventive Rio Hatate. So there's balance in that midfield.
Absolutely, yes. And up front, we've got the pace of Dyson Maeda. We would assume, if it's no change in formation, which, given Rodgers' record for being pretty rigid in terms of his formation, we'd assume we're setting up the same way. So what we have up front is you've got the pace and energy of Dyson Maeda. I appreciate he's been under a bit of scrutiny for missing a number of one-on-one chances, but I think when he starts as the striker, he gets more opportunities than what he does out wide. So even if he does, if he does miss a 1-to-1 at some point today, I think he'll get more opportunities. And I think, given the opportunities, he will hopefully get on the score sheet. We know that he's terrorised the Rangers defence in the past. Nygren, I think, we've seen how he plays. He's a very forward-thinking player. He's always looking to progress up the park. I think he's his vision and his passing range is excellent. I don't think he wastes possession too often. I think he's not quite hit top form. He's been a little bit, inconsistent at times. But when he is on his game, he's definitely a game changer for us. And on the other side, we've got this unknown commodity, which is Balikwisha. So we don't know necessarily enough about Balikwisha other than highlights packages and what we've researched in terms of him. But believe he's got real pace, good on the ball, quite inventive, and can certainly find it back of the net. So up front, it looks, certainly from the starting point, it looks pretty potent. Is there a concern though when you look at the bench, is that if it's not working, do we have enough attacking options on the bench? Because two absences notable. One may be expected, one maybe not so much. No Aramida, who we believe is on the verge of a move to Swansea. But no Johnny Kenny, which is interesting, meaning that we only have Shin Yamada on the bench. Now, you had a theory about why we've done that, so I'll let you run through that.
Not my theory, Chris. You know it. It's my brother's theory. So he's going to get all the credit for this. Unless it's proven that Johnny Kenny's actually injured, and that's the reason why he's not there. I was chatting with my brother earlier on, and it was why no Kenny was my question to him. And his theory is, if you look at that bench, you've got one goalkeeper, you've got two full-backs and a centre-back, two centre midfielders, two wingers, and one centre forward. He's gone with Shin. It's possibly just been a case that Brendan's fancied Shin as his centre forward option over Johnny Kenny, and there might be nothing else behind it. So that's my brother's theory on why there's no Johnny Kenny. So give him credit or criticism for that, whatever you want. But if you look at that bench though across the way, the question that you were coming out with there was like, who's the game changer? Who do you look to that bench if things are going wrong? And the options are very few and far between. Potentially somebody, again, I picked him out on Tuesday as a player to come on and change the game, is Luke McCowan. I'm not Luke's biggest fan, but I do know that he likes to take a shot, and that's something that potentially the other midfielders don't really do so often. It's something he's got up his sleeve. He was the match winner in Matchday 1 against St Mirren because he decided to come on and take a pot shot from outside the box, took a wee deflection, and it went. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win the prize. And
I love that.
And that's what Luke brings. I think he just brings that desire to score, the desire to do well for Celtic. So potentially there's him. And then if you do look at who the front three options would be, James A. Forrest comes in with loads of experience, but he's lost that bit of explosive pace that he used to have.
Yes.
He still wants to be direct when he's got the ball, but I think, again, you're in diminishing returns with him year on year as to what he's actually going to be able to provide for us in terms of goals and assists. Yang is just Yang, isn't he? He'll give you 5 minutes of a burst if he comes on the left, and then after that he's going to fade away, unfortunately. So I don't see him being a guy that's really going to come and change the game. I also don't fancy him in this atmosphere. I think it's too much for him. I don't think he copes well in the big games. And then there's Shin. And Shin is the same as Balikwisha in that way that he is still an unknown quantity. Don't don't really know what he brings to the team yet because he hasn't been given enough of a run out. So you're not overly confident when you look to that bench, let's say. There's many players that could come in and change it. But as we'll always say, it's a big game. It's a big opportunity. If these guys want to prove that they are big game players, there's no better stage for them to come and do it.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I think this is a kind of fixture which can make or break you. We all remember the glory days of Libo being signed, the gift from God, coming in, 2 goals, and absolute game changer. And we saw what that did for his career at that point, where he became, at the later stages of his career, became an absolute icon for this club. So the opportunity is definitely there. Looking at the back line then, a lot of debate has been around 2 partners, Carter Vickers. Liam Scales appears to get the nod at the moment. I know Western Trustee has been nursed an injury as well, so maybe forced into it. A few people talking about maybe Dane Murray getting more opportunities. Seems to have done well in his in his limited game time so far this season. But what was interesting in the European game midweek is that a lot of people, conversely, were actually talking about how static Carter Vickers had been in that match, and actually that Scales was much more forward thinking. Now Scales has come under a lot of pressure for maybe the inaccuracy of his passing, but the one thing you say about him is he's always keen to move the ball forward. He's always trying to get the ball forward, even if it doesn't come off. But a lot of people looked at Carter Vickers and thought it was just very static and very stagnant from him. We need him to step up because he's one of the real game changers in terms of making sure we don't concede goals in this team. So we need a big performance from him.
We do. We need a big performance from the full back 4 or back 5 if you include Casper in that as well, if we're going to keep a clean sheet today. But yeah, if you look at the game on Tuesday night, I would agree that Scales was, and not for the first time, he was the better of the 2. He was our best centre back in the game, which again I think maybe tells you the levels that we're at the moment. With the greatest respect to Liam Scales, I think we have regressed to the point that he becomes a better centre half, which is also a bit damning on CCV because he was so good for those first couple of seasons, so commanding. Every ball that came into the box, he just, you knew he was going to get there, he was going to win it. He was a rock. But I don't know if he's carrying an injury. Now, he seems to not be as mobile as he was before. As you say, that word static has come in. He is quite static. He's a bit slow when he goes to move, but ponderous again still on the ball, and seems to be taking more of the safe option more often than not. And by that, I just mean it's a square pass back to Scales rather than trying to play something forward. So you do need a big performance from CCV. If we get one, then we stand a far bigger chance of coming out of this game with minimum a point, if not all 3. So we need that. But I don't have a fear now with Scales being next to him, because again, I think he's gone over the course. He's played in big games at Ibrox before without Carter Vickers and been a rock. So I think we can expect something similar from him again today. But if I don't know if you're going to mention it as well, but just since we're talking about the defence, I think this game is going to be won and lost on the wings on both sides. I don't know if this was something that you were going to pick up on because I think it was really interesting.
I was.
I'm sorry for jumping the gun. So, and I'm sorry for jumping the gun, Chris. But I think there's 4 really intriguing matchups. Ralston against Gassama, who I think has probably been their most dangerous player so far this season. KT up against Mikey Moore, who comes with big potential and a big kind of burgeoning reputation from down south. He seems quite a lively player, and he's probably there to try and push KT back because he's been quite offensively good for us so far this season. And then from our side, I think Balak up against Tavernier could be really fun to watch. If I've got that one right. Oh no, that's wrong. It would be Balak against Magoma, their left back, which makes it even more interesting, I think, because I don't know how impressed I've been by him so far since he's come up. He looks a bit rash in the tackle. And Nigrin up against Tavernier then. It's interesting. I think I've mixed those 2 up again, haven't I? Those battles in the wings for us going forward. But anyway, whoever we're up against, I think they're interesting battles because you've got Balakwisha's kind of unpredictability. We don't know what he's going to do. Nigrin is very solid at going forward, and I just think this is where the game can be won and lost.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we've seen it in the past with Tavernier up against Maeda, for example. He doesn't like players who are direct, who are running at him, can use that pace and that energy. And, by all accounts, this is something that Balwisha is very, very adept at. Similarly, on the other side, I don't think Nygren has quite the same pace and energy, but I think his creativity is excellent. So, he's the kind of player that I think would give defenders nightmares, because he's got that ability, I think, to thread a pass. And I think his decision making is generally quite good. I mean, let's just to bring up for balance, we'll bring up the Rangers lineup, and apologies for having to do this. Now, one of the big talking points in our opposition today is the inclusion of Bojan Miovski. He's a player who terrorised us to a degree for Aberdeen. In previous seasons, it's one of these signings that a lot of our fans thought should have came our way. We should have been in for him. There was rumours that Brendan Rodgers wanted him. Hasn't turned out that way. He got himself a big money move, didn't work out, and he's now come back and he's playing for Rangers now. They line up Jack Butland in goal. We've got Tavernier, Giga, Suter, and Magoma. Then we've got Conor Barron, Diomande, Asgard, Moore, Gassama, and Miovski. Maybe a couple of surprises that plays like Ant-Man, who've been maybe a couple of their better performers, is only on the bench there. I'm going to take that off because honestly it's burning my eyes. Yeah, I think, and this is an interesting comment that I was going to bring up. Let's see if I can find this comment, which is just moved. But yeah, I'll bring this one up from Mark O'Donnell. Every other team in the league can score against them, so should we. I think the point I want to make off the back of that is this is a game, I think, when you look at domestic form, as I said earlier, if we leave the European side out of it, domestically, we are outperforming our opposition today. And it's what the consequence of that is we're going into this as heavy favourites in many channels. Even though we're approaching it with a degree of caution, we've got this favourites tag. Everybody's expecting us to go. There's a real negativity around Ibrox at the moment. But when it comes to these games, I don't really like being the favourite. To be honest, I know we've kind of earned the right to be favourite, but I don't enjoy the favourites tag. But the point that's been made, the point that I was looking for earlier, and apologies I can't bring it up, was that when you look on paper at these two lineups, we should be able to beat Rangers today. It should be almost a done deal. And I mean that no disrespect, well, a little bit disrespect, not much. But the point is that we should have enough about us. But it's very, very difficult to go in with that degree of comfort. I mean, once that whistle kicks off, we're going to be nervous, right? So you do need every one of the players to be on it. And you're right, there are certain battles across the park, the one-on-one battles, which we've not necessarily always been great at winning this season when we've been up against different opponents. We're not winning a lot of our one-on-one battles, so we need to be on it today.
Of course we do. It's a Glasgow derby. You've got to be on it. If you're not, you're in the end of a hiding. And we saw that in January when we weren't on it and we lost that early goal, and it was 3 going on 5 or 6, if we're honest, that day. We didn't turn up and they did. So of course you've got to be on it. And what I find is it's interesting in the way is that if you and I if we'd done a podcast on Monday, we were doing it then, and you asked me how I felt about this game, and I've told you I was very, very confident. We're on the back of reserves beating Livingston at the weekend. They've dropped another 2 points against St Mirren. I'm going into this game very high, very confident that we're going to destroy them. And I'm thinking we could win 3-4-0. Then you have Tuesday night, and it just brings you right back down to earth. And we were not at it on Tuesday. But then look at them again on Wednesday night. They were atrocious. So the mood of how you feel about the game is changing day by day, really. And you're getting to this point now where I know we've been asked not to talk about the lack of transfer activity or the off-field frustrations, but you can't help it because that's what's inside you, and that's what makes you feel how you feel about the game. Because if we purely didn't look at it, and I think this is probably what that comment is all about, if we just look at it from a purely football point of view, I think man for man, we come out as a stronger team. Yes. I think we do have more attacking creative options. I think we do, and I've got to touch wood all the time when I'm saying this, I think we do have a more solid defence than them. Everything is pointing to the fact that we should go there. We should be able to go there today and win this match. Then they're without Nico Raskan as well, which I think is another big blow for them. So I think Gassama's probably their biggest attacking threat, but Raskan's probably their best player. And I watched the game on Wednesday night there when they're getting beat 5-6-0, whatever it is, he's still tracking back and making late challenges or hassling players up in the corner. They don't have that. They're really disjointed as well. There's something not right inside that training room, that dressing room. So there's a lot of things that actually, if we want to, we can focus on a lot of positives and get ourselves a bit more excited for this game. And I'm sure that's what Brendan will have been doing, because just before he came on, he was doing his interview on Sky Sports, and he actually seemed a bit more upbeat than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
So maybe he's got the players in. He'll have gone through them on Wednesday for what happened on the Thursday, get that out the system, and now it's look at how we can win this game. Manager seemed confident. I suppose we should as well.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, this one, you put this down, it means so much to the fans as well. It means so much to us as supporters. And if anything, will help eradicate part of the memory of, you know, the midweek European struggles. It's getting a win today, and hopefully a good win as well, a good statement win. Let's get a couple of comments in. So Mo Knots 52 has come in and said Miovski sometimes playing for Dons versus Scales and Carter Vickers. It's a good point, and you're hoping though on a counterpoint to that, Mo, is that Rodgers should have them well scouted, right? We should know exactly what we're facing with Miovski. You know, it shouldn't come as any surprise. He's not an unknown quantity. So even though he performed very well against us in the past, you'd like to think now they kind of know what to expect. So maybe not necessarily something that we have to be too concerned about. But he's definitely a quality player. There's no doubt about that. Stephen O'Rourke, if I can get your comment to come up, comes in. Hopefully Maeda thinks he's shooting bits. Absolutely. We've just not quite seen Maeda hitting the heights of last season yet. Opportunity today from the start, playing up front, you know, maybe new support and creativity coming from BAaD. So yeah, absolutely looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the table today. Brown Warrior, big game neither from McGregor. I mean, there's so much responsibility on McGregor that you really need him to step up. But surely, if there's anyone on the pitch knows what this means to the supporters, knows that the magnitude of this sort of fixture, it has to be Callum McGregor. So you are hoping that he would, you know, he would come in and, you know, boss that midfield, take control, as you said earlier, Kevin. And you need that. You need your leaders on the park. Let's talk a little bit about KT. You spoke earlier. You know, he's been one of our most attacking wing backs since he's come back to the club. He's shown that attacking intent. He's getting up to the byline, playing more of a traditional wing back role than maybe Greg Taylor did. And he's been responsible for some of the best passages of play we've had. He seems to be involved in a lot of the good build-up. What we did notice is that seems to have came at the expense of, you know, the way that Dyson Maeda used to operate in a wing, where I think, you know, the fact that Taylor came in inverted allowed Maeda that freedom of the wing. And I think now that they're maybe not quite gelling the way we'd hoped yet. It'll be interesting to see how he plays, not only with Balagwisha, but now maybe how a player like Maeda, who I think has got better penalty box movement than either, for example, how he might benefit from someone like Tierney's crossing creativity today.
Yeah, I think it's been a feature of our play for many a year, actually, that we tend to focus a lot more attacks down the left than the right, which is quite surprising. And KT coming in, he just adds to that, because that's his game, isn't it? It's just going up and down that line, and going forward, he is a very offensive type of player. We've really enjoyed watching him since he's come back. As much as I did love Greg Taylor and was a huge supporter of him in the team and what he did with that inverted role, you sometimes miss that extra creative outlet on the left. Of course, what you've seen now is what you've highlighted there is that sometimes KT and Maeda want to be in the same space, which confuses things a little bit. But it still worked though, because we're still creating a lot down the left. KT's got a couple of assists already. He's almost scored a couple of goals as well. He's had a couple of efforts from outside the box that have been fairly close. So I think today, as much as possible, we'll see that same kind of rampaging style from him, getting up and down the line. Defensively, again, he's still very, very solid, isn't he? He's improved a lot defensively. So up against Moore, who I think will be someone who'll be right up for this game and want to take it to Tierney. I think he's big enough to stand up to that challenge. So as that battle, I think that's one hopefully that KT will come out on top of. And as you mentioned with Maeda, maybe moving him inside, it does give him that bit more space. I think the biggest benefit of having him through the middle today, though, is going to be that lack of pace in Giga and Suter, especially John Suter. So if we've got Maeda on his shoulder and we can for the first time, really start to play penetrative through passes between the fullback and centre back. Getting Maeda in on them, I think, is could be a joy to watch. And then you've just got to hope that it is Maeda that gets on the end of them and not dies, and as it has been recently.
I was waiting for that.
Last season's Maeda was deadly when he was in front of goal. If we could get that back today, then I think we could be looking forward to a good afternoon.
Absolutely. We're going to bring in a few more comments as we're getting close to kick-off. So the Big Shed comes in to say, up and at them from the off, pay them no respect. I think it's a fair point. I think, this is a kind of game that you just want a fast start, all action, go at them. We need to keep our discipline, because the last thing we want is to go a player down. We don't want to give the referee any excuses today. We don't want to leave anything in the hands of the officials. But I think, high energy, high intense play right from the start. Use those assets that we have in terms of Maeda's pace, Balikwisha's pace as we understand it, although we've not seen it yet, Nygren's inventiveness, and maybe one player we haven't spoken about yet is Rio Hatate. He can be a game changer in these sort of fixtures, Kev. He can come in and sometimes do the unexpected. Maybe be absent for 45 or 50 or 60 minutes and then suddenly pop up with an absolute worldie. So there's goals in this team, I think, and we're all hoping for an Arnie Engels goal from open play as well, which I think he desperately wants. I think that is a feature of his play that he desperately wants. So good opportunity for him today as well.
Just when you mention Engels.
Yes.
There again, so I forgot to mention this at the beginning when you said about the midfield right at the top of the show. Where we've been losing this game recently has been that they've been able to close down Callum McGregor quite well.
Yeah.
They'll get one or two men on top of him. One of them's usually been Raskan, so with him not there, that lessens that opportunity. But I'm wondering if you'll do kind of the double pivot, Callum and Engels both sitting a little bit deeper, because that gives us a wee bit more of an option there. Because Taylor coming in from the invented gave us two centre midfielders, or two sixes almost, when he was there. We can get that from the beginning with Engels in there, and I think if he's it to help and support Callum, he's got an out ball every single time. Engels is a good football player. He is direct. It also frees up Rio to be kind of the point of that midfield and to be that creative force. So maybe there's something in that as well. And you say Rio can always pull something out of the bag. He scored a few belters in his time, and another one today when they go amiss.
Oh, that would be great, wouldn't it? Let's bring in another comment. Loopy33, last season Maeda had a lot more chances. This season he's getting one per game, usually late when he's knackered. That's the point that I've echoed at times this season as well. I feel as though when he's out on the wing, he doesn't get the opportunities that he got when he plays as number 9, obviously. But I think he is a player who needs more chances. It reminds me of one of these old kind of Filippo Inzaghi type players. If you remember him, he was one of the guys that seemed to spend most of the time perpetually offside. But give him enough opportunities and he'd score you a hat-trick in a game, but he would never score a hat-trick with 3 chances. It'd take about 20 chances to do it, but he would do it. So I sort of get echoes of that a little bit from Maeda. Donny Tiny Hands here coming in to say, don't want a repeat of Borball. Yeah, we don't like the horseshoe of doom, do we? I mean, I know that we're no place to question a manager's achievements, but as supporters, we base it on our eyes. We don't like the side to side. We really want to see, much more direct, forward going play. And maybe if the manager is starting to get the players in, like Balikwisha, if we get other arrivals, Kev, maybe we'll start to see more of that direct forward play. And maybe as a personnel issue, but that's the hope. Urban Culture comes in to say nervous breakdown incoming. Too old for this. Yep, you and me both, mate, I would think. And Celt88 comes in and says, enjoy the game, troops. May Jesus bless us with many goals. I'll take any type of blessing we could get if it brings goals, Celt88. So, listen, we are getting very, very close to time. So, all that remains is, Kev, I'm going to ask you for a very careful prediction for the game ahead.
Why would you do that, Chris?
I know. Well, I'll give it as well.
But let's go 2-0 Celtic.
2-0 Celtic. I'm going to say I think that's maybe pretty reasonable. I think it'll be a tight game. I'm going to go with a hopeful 3-1. I think we'll possibly suffer the loss of a goal, but I think we maybe get enough about it. And I'm hoping today's maybe the day that someone like Shin comes on and maybe gets that goal and makes himself a hero. So I'll go for 3-1. Kev's going for 2-0. Let us know in the comments whether you agree with that or not. Hopefully we get the win today. Hopefully it's a good performance with many goals. We will be back at half-time, hopefully talking about how well we've played. So all that's left for me to say is thank you, Kevin, and I will see you at half-time. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind. One Hoops.
Excellent. Cheers.